Hello, I'm Harry Riley. Welcome to Harry's 10-Minute Tales. This is called Trapped in Time by Harry Riley. You're probably wondering why I invited you here, James. After all, we haven't kept in touch over the years, and we were never exactly bosom pals, were we? I shuffled in my seat and shrugged at a loss for words before grinning at my host. I supposed it was because you wanted to show off your new status as Lord of the Manor when you cut yourself off from the crowd back then. We all thought it was because you preferred your own company and wanted to do your own thing. Mark scratched at the bald patch on his head and assumed a pained expression. In a way, you're right, and in another way, you've got me all wrong. Yes, I wanted peace and quiet, but not because of you lot. You see, I needed to think things out. After Mary disappeared, I was all at sixes and sevens. I didn't know what to do with the rest of my life. We'd made plans for our future together, and it had all gone in an instant. If you remember, I'd always been interested in ghosts and the paranormal, and read up on all the accounts I could find, going back through the ages. And then, when this rambling old haunted manor came on the market, I noticed it was going for a song. I seized my chance to buy it, and here I am. It's very run down, as you see, and it's been in the same family for centuries. It was the perfect place to carry out my experiments in private, away from prying eyes. I began to feel uncomfortable. As I'd driven up through the dull grey mist, wintry mist, to this lonely, God-forsaken relic on the bleak Derbyshire Moors, my misgivings had increased, but I had dismissed them as foolish worries over nothing. Mark studied my face as if reading my mind. And now you're wondering if those rumours are true. I tried to laugh it off. No, not a bit of it. We'd heard you tried to kill yourself. Some sort of breakdown, and well... Go on, get it off your chest. I didn't really take any notice at the time, but somebody suggested you'd been seen coming out of a well-known spiritualist chapel. We all assumed you'd been trying to get in touch with Mary, now that she's gone. Dominic reckoned you'd gone do lally-tap. He gave a twisted smile at this and took another gulp of his whisky. I noticed he'd been going at the demon drink quite a bit since my arrival. The bottle was nearly empty. He'd been trying to force a lot of brandy down my throat too. That's just the sort of thing Dom would say. That big lump never did like me. I couldn't speak to him like I'm speaking to you, James. Anyway, that's all in the past. I did try and get in touch with Mary through a medium. I thought she might have passed over, but it was no good. Bring your drink. I want to show you something. He picked up his torch, and I followed him along the cold, echoing corridors, and out through what had once been the servants' exit, and then across the wet cobbled yard to the stable block. Here were several empty bays, and one that we entered with a key, which still had a sturdy door. The room was long and dark, and appeared quite empty, save for an artist's easel in the middle, on which was placed a large wooden picture frame. There was neither a mirror nor a painting inside the mount, but as my one-time friend shone his torch on the easel, an image began to take place within the glazed area of the frame. He reached for the light switch, and the frame was again plain and devoid of life. Suddenly his eyes lit up with feverish excitement, and he shook my arm quite vigorously, raising his voice to a falsetto scream. There! Did you see it? Did you see it? Caught in the torchlight? Tell me you saw him. I was afraid to put my thoughts into words. There was something. A figure came into being. He was dressed in an old-time costume from centuries ago. I gazed fearfully at my surroundings. He seemed to be in here. It was surreal, a scene from the past. But there was a thin wavy line running right across the picture, like an electrical current. Mark had never let go of my arm, and he shook it again quite violently. You're right, that's exactly what it was. You had to see it for yourself, or you wouldn't have believed me. Now come back into the house by the fire where it's warm, and I'll tell you about my amazing discovery. Later, over a hot toddy, he told me how he'd been experimenting with holograms. James, I won't bore you with details, but it's easy to make a simple hologram. You take a red laser, two really clean parabolic dish mirrors, and a beam splitter device to break one beam into two, plus a holographic film. You set your arrangement on a bed of sand to reduce vibration and line everything up at angles with the chosen object. I used a small pewter horse for a subject. You need the beam to hit the subject from two directions, and then in the darkness you switch the laser on. Only somehow, in my case, instead of the horse appearing in the hologram, I found I'd trapped a ghost that had been invisible to the naked eye. He must have wandered across the room in the dark and been trapped by the laser, so he appeared instead of the horse. Now I want to take things a stage further and use a live human in the experiment. Would you be prepared to help? Be the subject, in fact. I was extremely doubtful. I don't want lasers fired at me in the dark. I think it's very dangerous, and you're tampering with the supernatural. You don't know what strange powers might be unleashed. He gave a peculiar smile and shook his head. I was feeling a little groggy after all that alcohol, and slumped back in my comfy armchair, quite tired. Too late. I realised he spiked my drink. When I awoke, I was lashed to a kitchen chair, and from the dim overhead light I could see Mark setting up his apparatus. We were back in the stables. The laser was thankfully not pointed straight at me, but at a large mirror placed at the far end of the room. Another mirror was positioned to the right of me, and a few feet from that I saw what I took to be his covered-up sheet of holographic film. He realised I was now awake, struggling to break free of my bonds, and came to my side. "I'm sorry, James, but I thought you might be uncooperative, and I had to restrict your movements." I cursed him in my frustration. Dominic was right. You have lost your marbles. You can't do this and get away with it, you know. You think not. I've been planning it for some time. I knew you'd taken Mary away, right from the start, and now this is your last day on earth. You'll be trapped in time. Revenge is sweet. I'm going to savour it. Once I've completed this task, I'll just set fire to the old place, with you in it. You've ruined my life, and now I'll take yours. An eye for an eye. The light went out, and a red pencil-thin beam came on, illuminating the eerie scene. I could see it passing through one mirror and being split as it bounced away to the other one, and hitting me from two separate points. The film was now uncovered to catch my image. I felt nothing but remorse for being such a damn fool. And then it was all over, and the single light bulb was switched back on. Mark spoke again in a voice loaded with malice as he removed his equipment. "There you are. It wasn't so bad, was it? Now we come to the main event." My nose was filled with a strong odour of petrol fumes as he splashed it in a wide circle around my chair. There was a whoosh as he lit the fuel, and then he'd gone. He'd gone out of the one and only doorway. With lungs straining to breaking point, I repeatedly yelled out the one word that might yet save me. "Dominic! Dominic!" Moments later, a large figure leapt into the room and was hauling me out through the flames, chair and all. Knowing Mark was of a dubious mentality, I'd taken the precaution of bringing Dominic with me on this strange errand. We'd agreed he should remain hidden. I was just glad he'd stayed awake and on duty for my distress call. He told me he'd crept up to the stable block and had witnessed it all, listening to Mark's manic gloating. And then as my would-be assassin jumped out of the doorway, Dominic had belted him on the back of his head, with a sock full of wet sand from the huge pile outside. He was now sleeping like a baby. We both dragged him away, watching awestruck as the manor and all its outbuildings went up in flames. Mark was later confined in an asylum, and I was able to celebrate a lucky escape from death over a drink with my two best pals, Dominic and Mary. End.